Okay, welcome. This regular meeting of the Waco Independent School Board is hereby called to order. All items which may be discussed or voted upon this evening have been posted as required by state law, and I really want to extend a warm welcome to everyone here and to our television viewers. The board's purpose is to set goals, listen to the reports of the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts and personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. We are not here to make management decisions or solve problems of individuals. Management is the responsibility of the superintendent and her staff. I would just ask right now if you would please turn off your cell phones to silent if you have not already done so. We really do appreciate the time that you've taken to join us and for your interest in Waco ISD. Esta Junta Regular de Waco ISD está convocada. Les extiendo un amable bienvenidos a todos los que están presentes y los que nos observan por televisión. También les quiero compartir que todas las conferencias están disponibles en la página de Waco ISD, YouTube el lunes después de la conferencia. En esa página pueden escoger su idioma, así toda la información que fue discutida está disponible para todos. Por favor, apagar su teléfono celular y les agradecemos el tiempo que compartir con nosotros y su interés en Waco ISD. We, as the Waco ISD Board of Trustees, go by a set of ethical standards. The first, I read just a section, and in this section, we as the board display honor and conduct. We will always tell the truth. We will share our views while working for consensus. We will respect the majority decision as the decision of the board, and we will base our decisions on fact rather than supposition, opinion, or public favor. Moving on to item number 2, public comments. Is there anyone signed up? Okay, great, thank you. Moving on to item number 3, this is the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. But if you could please just pause with me right now as we take time for prayer, contemplation, reflection, and meditation. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, Pledge of Allegiance. Our pledge leaders, if you want to come stand right here at the front.
That way, when you do Texas, turn this way, okay?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Woo!
The board would meet me down in front of the dais.
This month's pledge leaders are enrolled at J.H. Hines Elementary School. Jaclara White is a daughter of Rita Atkins, and Sky Ludiker is a daughter of Ashley Ludiker. Jaclara is in the 1st grade. Jaclara's favorite subjects are reading, art, and science. She enjoys coloring and playing games. When she grows up, she wants to be the first female president of the United States. Sky is in pre-K. Her favorite subject in school is her centers. She enjoys going to the Mayborn Museum and playing with her brothers. When she grows up, she wants to be a doctor. We would also like to thank Principal Dr. Cynthia Weiss for being here tonight to support her students. Thank you, Dr. Weiss. So if you made it out to the Kids Future National Chef Challenge, You know that there were some homemade recipes that were so good that I understand that Sodexo is going to be trying them out at University High School next year, possibly. So it was a tough competition. It was hot not only in the kitchen, but out in front of the judging panel as well. So Waco ISD elementary students cooked their favorite home recipes to present to the panel at the 13th Annual Waco ISD Kids Future Chef National Challenge. It's for students in 3rd through 5th grades, and it's hosted by Sodexo. Chef Julia Pennington will be assisting with our award presentations tonight. These are your winners that we're introducing you to. Winning the Healthy Attributes category from Lake Air Montessori School with her street corn pasta salad, Miss Mackenzie Davis. Our next winner really knows how to put a beautiful plate together. She won plate presentation from Hillcrest Elementary, Cordelia Ramirez. If you had a chance to taste any of the dishes, you know they were all delicious. So it really came down to how the scores fell. But winning the taste category is Charlotte Lundy from Parkdale Elementary with her chicken pot pie soup. Winning originality with his torta al pastor was David Martinez from Provident Heights Elementary. In student chef presentation from Kendrick Elementary School with her cowgirl salad, Yamina Romero. And this one was definitely a crowd favorite. She won the kid-friendly category with her cinnamon strawberry French toast, Caitlin Bocher from Parkdale Elementary School. And with a dessert named after herself, this is her own creation. Annalie Garcia from Kendrick Elementary School wins ease of preparation. The Kids Future Chef National Challenge provides another experience for our students to consider their careers, such as culinary arts, that they may want to pursue beyond high school. A huge thank you to Sodexo for hosting this for the last 13 years in Waco ISD. Watch out. Congratulations to all of our future national chefs. We would now like to recognize the Hillcrest Elementary lead counselor, Chantel Gunnis. Miss Gunnis, you can go ahead and clap because she deserves it. She was named the Education Service Center Region 12 Elementary Counselor of the Year. To put that in perspective, Ms. Gunnis was chosen from counselors serving more than 300 campuses in 77 school districts. She has served students as a secondary English teacher for 9.5 years and has been a school counselor for 7 years. She has served as the Hillcrest lead elementary school counselor for 2 years, mentoring new counselors and serving as a site supervisor for a school counseling intern. Ms. Gunnis, congratulations. You thought that was impressive? This is equally impressive. We now recognize the Waco ISD Purchasing Department. They are being honored tonight with the Texas Association of School Business Officials Purchasing Award of Merit. They are one of only 77 districts out of more than 1,200 in Texas meeting this criteria. Impressive, yes, but even more impressive, this is the 16th consecutive year that the Waco ISD Purchasing Department, led by Director Michelle Tisch, has earned the award. Accepting the award tonight are the members of this purchasing department that are responsible for this incredible accolade. It recognizes school districts that are committed to following professional standards in the acquisition of goods and services. Congratulations to the Waco ISD Purchasing Department. We would now like to recognize our Partner of the Month. This organization has been with us for more than a decade. Let me introduce you to the Stars Book Club. They create a love of literacy in our students and have been doing so for more than 10 years, and we have seen our reading scores go up. They are just one of the many pieces that support our students in their love of literacy. STAR's 300 mentors enjoy eating lunch and reading books weekly with more than 600 Waco ISD students on 8 Waco ISD campuses. Accepting their award tonight is Autumn Newman, STAR's director, Gina Sanders, book club coordinator, and Elaine Embry Mullins, book club coordinator. STAR's Book Club was created in 2013 by Stephanie Quarterweg, a former Waco ISD elementary teacher and the current Waco ISD Board of Trustees president. And they are looking for volunteers. You can apply on their website. We have about 150 students on the waiting list that are looking for mentors. So if you'd like to sign up, see one of these ladies or go to their website. And Madam President, that's all of our recognitions.
No, I brought my jacket.
Right under this vent.
You can use my jacket. Give people a second to kind of file out. Always a great time to give awards and celebration and accolades to our kids and the hard work that they're doing, and our staff and the amazing work they're doing, and our community partners. Such a great visual that it really does take a village. It takes a team to help our students. I'm so thankful for that. Okay, moving on to item number 5, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Kincannon.
Okay, 4 items to visit about this evening. Happy to answer any questions about any of these items. They're pretty good things to talk about, maybe not as good as those sweet kids down there. They were so sweet, so sweet. Superintendent Scholars, last week we held likely one of, I always say one of my favorites, is one of my favorite events. We honored our 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade superintendent scholars in front of a large crowd of family members and teachers at the Lee Lockwood Library and Museum. And as you know, the goal of this annual event is to celebrate our top performers on the PSAT and to challenge them to continue to make most of their opportunities. The event honors both what these students have accomplished, and it demonstrates how committed we are as a district to support those students in continuing to pursue their educational goals. In total, we honored 204 scholars this year, including 120 students in the 8th grade. Our 8th graders were represented the top 15% at their campus on the PSAT. Our 9th graders were the top 15% nationally with the PSAT. 10th graders, we went to the state average, top 15%, because we had them take the 11th grade National Merit Qualifying Test, and then the 11th graders were based on the NMSQT. So really, really tremendous group of students to honor. We also honored 12 high school teachers for their work in preparing students for testing during the wind time. And I want to say thank you to Paula Miller and the advanced academic staff for a really wonderful event and for all the work that they do for our students all year. It was really great to include our 8th grade students with the older students at this event this year, but we might have to rethink that for next year because of space. We had so many people there. We might have to find a new venue, and we'll figure that out. But it was a great challenge. It was packed, and it was just a lot of fun to honor our top students. It was really pretty great. The Women's and Men's Empowerment Summits, our first week back from spring break this year, ended on a high note with 290 students and many members of our staff and some of our board members who enjoyed another successful year of our Waco ISD Men's and Women's Empowerment Summits. Students attended informational sessions, heard from motivational speakers, and had the opportunity to engage with district and community leaders. Once again, I want to thank McLennan Community College, Baylor University, the Junior League of Waco, all of our distinguished speakers, and the many community partners and volunteers that provided an incredible experience for our students. And I also want to thank those of you who are able to attend. And finally, I want to thank Executive Director of Student Support, Yolanda Williams, for coordinating those events once again. Appreciate you. Any comments about the summits?
I'll just say thank you again for putting on such a wonderful event. It was motivation to me to just be able to be there and see how much of an impact it had on our students. So thank you. Look forward to it for many years to come.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mr. Guillory?
I also want to thank Mr. Billings, Andrew Billings, for coming out.
Thank you for that.
And speaking to our young men. He was very inspirational to have one of our own that came up through our schools and is now playing in the NFL and giving back to our city. Really appreciate him, and I'm thankful for him, and also Coach Love for speaking to the young men there. And my favorite part of the event every year is what you captured right here is helping those young men tie for the first time. I remember my uncle teaching me to tie my tie for my first job, and so every time I do this, I remember that. So.
Oh, that's a great story. Thank you for providing that specific information about Andrew Billings. Thank you. Or was it Anthony? I get them mixed up. Andrew, yes, thank you. Anyone else?
I attended the Women's Summit, and it was just so great to see all of those girls together. I think it's like what you could feel in the room was the women all coming together, being challenged, being motivated, and it just felt nice to be in a room full of girls who were kind of all pointed in the same direction and envisioned for their future. And so it was such a special event. I love being in spaces like that, and I always walk away so refreshed from being in those spaces. So thank you so much, Mrs. Williams, for getting that and coordinating that. I know that is no small task. that is a huge lift, so thank you.
And thank you, President Quarterwig, for speaking to the girls. I heard you did a really nice job. So appreciate that very much. I'm sorry I had to miss. I was with our team at Charlottesville working on school improvement for the future. So thank you all for being there. Campus Teachers of the Year. You may have seen some announcements across social media and other platforms from our campuses announcing their Teachers of the Year, and I wanted to make sure that you saw the entire group. We had 25 teachers, and those teachers together have a combined total of 304 years of service in education, with 196 years of serving the students, families, and community of Waco ISD. So I hope you'll join me in thanking each of these incredible educators for how they're leading with heart. And also mark your calendars for May 21st when we will announce the District Outstanding Teachers of the Year for elementary and secondary and honor all of these teachers at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in Waco. And I'll make sure you have a calendar invite for that.
Great.
Good-looking group. And then finally, I want to acknowledge our interim police chief, Stuart Russell, and welcome him to Waco ISD. I don't see him here this evening. I may have forgotten to tell him to come. I hope not, but I may have. We'll make sure you get the opportunity to meet him. He's a 32-year veteran of school policing, and he comes to Waco ISD after leading a department that served a district of over 50,000 students. He's a TCOL Master Peace Officer who has served as a TCOL instructor and firearms instructor. Chief Russell stepped in as into the interim role here to support and advance the efforts to grow our department while maintaining the continuity of service for the rest of the school year. We have engaged with the Texas Police Chiefs Association to lead a search for our next police chief, and they have already reviewed our job description and qualifications, and they will help us advertise for the position, screen candidates, and also participate in the interview process. I'm targeting May the 9th and the 10th to conduct in-person interviews if we have a good candidate pool, and I feel confident that we will. Just want to say I'm grateful for Chief Russell's experienced leadership to get us through this school year. And I want to appreciate and acknowledge my longtime friend and colleague, Chief Gene Ellis, who is the Executive Director of the Texas Police Chiefs Association, for his partnership in our recruiting and hiring efforts for our next Chief of Police. So we're thankful for them for leading that process and look forward to bringing someone on, hopefully by summer. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kincannon. Do you have any questions, Trustee Grant, on item number 6, information items and reports? Mr. Davis, do you have any questions on number 6, information items or reports?
No.
Mr. Vidania, do you have any questions on item number 6?
No.
Mr. Guillory, do you have any questions on item number 6?
No.
Mr. Ochoa, do you have any questions on item number 6? No. And Mr. Patton, do you have any questions on number 6?
No.
Okay, great. I actually do have a question. Ms. Davis, sorry. And it's more of when I was looking through the insurance, when do we go out for insurance? Oh, maybe that's more of a Daniel question. I don't, whoever can answer it, either anyone in this room. Yeah.
We just went out actually, and we just changed from Blue Cross Blue Shield to United Healthcare effective January 1st.
Okay.
And we usually award it for 3 years.
Award for 3 years. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at our thing and I thought, okay, when are we going out for this again?
We don't intend to stay 3 years. We'd like to move to the state's plan, TRS Active Care, and we want to visit with you all about that at a future workshop or regular meeting, and just walk you through the thinking on that, and also the timeline, because we don't think this, you can only sign up at a certain time of the year, and that's at the end of the year. We don't think this is a good time to change this coming fall or for next year, because our employees just got switched over to a new plan. So we'll likely wait another year at least to do that.
Presentation on the 4th, I think?
We don't have health plan on the 4th. We did, but we're going to hold that one because we have so many other things happening right now. But we will bring a presentation forward to the board.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to item number 7, consent agenda. Mr. Grant, do you want anything pulled?
I do not.
Mr. Davis, would you like anything pulled?
No.
Mr. Vidania, would you like anything pulled?
No.
Mr. Guillory, anything pulled?
No.
Mr. Ochoa, would you like anything pulled? No. Mr. Patton, would you like anything pulled?
No.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I move.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay. Is there any question, Mr. Grant? Any questions?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Davis?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Vidania?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Guillory?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Ochoa? No. Any questions, Mr. Patton?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll take a vote. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 8, review and discuss Tennyson Middle School construction update. Ms. Barrera.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Kincannon, members of the board. Well, we've got some good news to share with you about Tennyson Middle School. And it doesn't seem like that long ago that you actually approved the GMP, but time has been flying. So right now we have, oh, they're right behind me, okay. Doug Dawson with O'Connell Robertson and Isaiah Unruh with Core Construction, and they're gonna give you a good update on where we are.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All righty. So, hello again. Long time no see. Really excited to be here to talk about the Tennyson Middle School progress. Some great footage and things happening on the job site. Isaiah will also talk to some of the fun engagement that's been happening. And I actually walked it today and was able to go through and see the progress that's being made. It's pretty spectacular. Lots of people out there working hard and looking really, really good. So always exciting to see it as it starts to get close. But we have an updated video and animation here. So on the top is going to be drone footage from the job site, and on the bottom is our rendering that we have shown several times. Let's see if I can get it to play here. And so we're looking at the campus from the 2-story wing, which is all your standard classrooms and science labs. And again, you can see all of that exterior design, the brick and the concrete tilt wall, and all the windows are in. All the roofing is done, and you can see the mechanical units going on the roof. So lots of progress being made on the exterior. It's basically watertight at this point. And you can see the parking lot there in the front. I have all the subcontractors parking in there. The drop-off line for the new main entry is all paved, along with some of that concrete sidewalk. What you're seeing here at the top is actually the main gymnasium. So there is a nice little canopy out there in front of your main gym. So if you're doing some after-hours stuff, you've got a little queuing area out there out front. And then, of course, zooming out, looking at your main entry there, we can run this again. But really coming along nicely. It's always great to see when the footage and the rendering look as close as they do. It's always exciting. So I don't know if anybody wants to see it again. We can run it one more time.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Ochoa, yes.
Is there going to be fencing on that side, that street side?
So the side that we're actually looking at in this view, before you started over, is facing the front.
Yeah.
So basically,
that side.
These two sides are there's no real outdoor space that's accessible from the building. It's all basically just public street front, and there's no courtyards or anything like that. So the fencing is actually around the back where you have your track and your field and your dining courtyard. So all of that secure fencing will enclose those outdoor elements. And then the building that we saw, so from this corner all the way around to where that parking was shown, is basically the exterior kind of street-facing portion of the building. So there's no fencing around. So on this street, I think this is 62nd, does not have fencing along it because there's really no program happening out there. There's no doors or anything like that.
What about on that back section?
So yeah, once you get around that back section, that's where you have the access to like your track and your field and all the outdoor elements that the students and staff would be using. So that portion would be fenced in. So again, kind of coming around the front door here to those two big columns that you see sticking out, that's towards your main entry. So a really nice, inviting entry, very easily noticeable from the front. So when you have visitors coming to the campus, they know exactly where to go. And it'll look a lot more green like the rendering below once the grass gets planted. Obviously still a construction site for now. But very exciting to walk through and see everything happening. As I mentioned, I walked through today. tiles going in, paint's going up. It's looking really, really good. So, any other questions on kind of the design side? And I can turn it over to Isaiah.
Mr. Guillory?
Are there any changes from this, from Tennyson, that you saw at Carver that you may have wanted to change, that you changed here in Tennyson with the Tennyson design?
Yeah, we made a few tweaks. You know, we got some good feedback also from staff and from the district administration. So we did a lot of, you know, hey, what are some of the things that we could have improved? You know, some of the everything from how the checkout line worked in the food service, and you know, thinking about where their point of sale happens and how exactly that gets coordinated. We made a few little tweaks there. The biggest design change is going to be the main entry. So what we didn't want was when you walk into both campuses, it feels exactly the same. You know, these campuses both have a really strong identity that are very different. Tennyson and Carver are very different communities and campuses. And we wanted to reflect those individual, you know, kind of hopes and dreams and the vision of each campus. So when you walk into Tennyson, as soon as you're in there in that main entry space and that dining commons, it feels very different than it does with Carver. And then when you go back into the classroom wings and the gymnasiums and the athletics areas is where those spaces are a little bit more, they're going to be more similar between the two campuses. So the gyms are generally the same size and layout. The athletics and performing and fine arts is basically the same size and layout, but really focusing our changes at the front door and making sure that this campus has its own unique identity.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
Can we start the video over one more time and you show us at the back where the fencing will be? I think I was.
So pause it if you could right there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, you're not going to see it really, but from the, could you back it up to the very beginning? Mm-hmm. The site plan might be a little easier to show it once we get on there, so I can speak to that in a little bit.
I'm saying, but this is.
So we're
looking at right now, it won't be fenced in.
So if you I can point to it. So like this portion here, that is open to the street. There's nothing out here that we're going to be fencing in, but it's once you get around to this back side that
turns back.
Yeah, this corner that turns back, everything back behind here will all be fenced in.
That's where all the doors and access points are.
You have access points from your dining commons to, you know, the main courtyard area back there. Athletics has access back there. There are some doors for egress along this side here, but they're going to be locked and secured as all of our exterior doors would be.
So we will have doors?
You'll have
not within a fenced area?
So yeah, just like your main entry, you know, you have your main entry that's under. We do have some doors from like your stairwells and things that come down that are along this short side here, similar to Carver. But again, those are going to be with, you know, a card reader secured and locked down. They're not going to be using those, you know, day to day to get in and out. That'll all go through the front door.
So that those doors are really more, you said card readers, so it's faculty.
Yeah, it'll be locked pretty much 100% of the time.
It's just like the main hallway at Carver, that sixth grade wing goes right outside there. Although I do think that is fenced from the front of the school around, isn't it?
That would be I love the design. I love how everything's coming along. I would like to see, maybe not along the full side of the building, but at least that back part I would love to see fenced in just for security wise. If there's doors there, I would want to see a fence there as well.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we can take a look at it.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Seems reasonable.
Doug, I just wanted to mention, Angelo and I have a mutual friend that sent us a text a couple of nights ago, and she said, just did a PTA walkthrough of the new TMS, y'all, in all caps. All the tears, it's so incredible. Thank you times a million. She goes on to thank for the work of the bond, and then she says, this is going to be life-changing for all of our Waco ISD kiddos. Tons of hearts. It's not finished, and she was just ecstatic. It was great. We don't always get great text. That was awesome.
We love to hear that, you know, and as I mentioned, yeah, once the rest of the paint and the finishes start going up, it's really going to feel super special, and the furniture, you know, starts going in. So, and with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Isaiah, who's going to talk a little bit about everything that's going on.
Yeah, so speaking of some of those walks and community engagement, We did a staff walk this month, so all of the staff from Tennyson Middle School in a couple waves, because there's quite a few, came and walked through the building, got to see the space, maybe see, oh, I think that's my classroom, I think this is my wing. Lots of excitement there. Great to see everyone get a feel for that space, see how that new campus is going to be. We also had that PTA walk last week, lots of excitement there as well, being able to see that. The other community engagement we did recently was our second student engagement. So that's one of 2 that we've done so far. Awesome to see those kids be able to walk through their school, but also do some activities, get them a little excited about the industry, you know, show them what it means to be in the construction industry, the architecture industry, even a lot of the trades. There's obviously a lot of people working on the site, a lot of people working in construction and design. So getting them involved in that, they look through some plans to see how people are building day to day and designing, and showed them some of the cool technology that we use to keep the project going. So a lot of good stuff there. This is a just kind of high level schedule to kind of point out where we are, where we're going, moving forward. So this first phase is wrapping up at the end of July, but really at that June 17th date, that's our stocking TCO. That's the big milestone we're working towards, giving plenty of time, that month and a half, for the district to move furniture in, equipment, do trainings, all of that. We're doing occupancy meetings with all Waco ISD staff and other partners frequently to make sure that everyone understands what we need to do to get there, not just on the construction side, but also on the district side, and make sure that we as core construction can support the district in all of that, and make sure everyone's on the same page there. So really great plans there. Around that June date, we also will be starting the abatement and demolition of the existing campus. So about 2 weeks after school gets out, we will start taking down that old building, getting the fire lane in, which is really the bus lane in the back there, and working on the track and parking, which will be complete by the end of 2024 for that spring semester. So to kind of do that visually, so we're in phase 2 right now. Phase 1 was a little bit of demo. Phase 2 is the building and that front side. So that green area we're calling the Waco ISD access area from about June to July. So that's during that TCO, that's the move-in, be able to access the building, get in there, get stuff going while we're finishing up the gyms is what's going to be happening in the building right then. You can see the shadow of the existing campus over there on the top right. So we'll be working on kind of eating away at the edge of that to be able to get the bus lane in there, which is what you see, where that our construction fence will move out right before school to make sure that we've got that bus lane and that access. And then along that backside, we'll have a construction fence separating while we do the track area there and the additional parking. Obviously school can run smoothly and we get that additional area. So, and then the final site plan is here. This is what that'll look like. So you can see over on the left is the area that will be available during the first semester, during that fall of this year. So you got a good majority of the parking available there, as well as obviously the building and that bus loop around the back. And then for the spring semester, the track and field will be available, and then as well as that additional parking back there. Any questions seeing this map?
So looking, staff parking where you have it designated won't be available?
Right, so the staff parking on the left of that map will be available. The staff parking on the right will not be available in the first semester. That'll become available in the spring of 2025.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do believe that the parking that'll be available in the fall this year is more than is at the current Tennyson Middle School. So it will be a lot of great parking once we move into that spring semester, but it actually will still be an improvement over what they have right now. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's great.
I have one question that's probably nitpicky and a detail. And For the stage area, Tennyson has been putting on great shows and musicals and stuff. What kind, are we doing theater lighting, or are we doing the similar lighting that we had done for Carver? It's going to be a full. Right, I saw that for our. Right. So are we going to go ahead and put those lights and I'm assuming it's soundboard and all that stuff in as we're building, or are we going to come back and retrofit?
That's already part of the project, so that'll be turned over with the school for that fall semester.
Excellent.
All right. So moving on to some photos. So you probably saw it in the aerial with the drone videos, but in the middle there, you can kind of see that parking lot out front. So lots of parking available right now, which has been nice for us because we get our parking off the street. Be nice to our neighbors. But you can kind of see that taking shape there. Over on the left, you've got the central plant. So that's all the equipment that's going to run our HVAC systems and as well as our water throughout the building. So that's all the equipment is in there and it's being started up right now. We've got all the HVAC units on the roof as well now. So that's rolling along. On the right there, that's a view down the Fine Arts and Athletics corridor. Walls are painted, floor is polished and protected there. All the MEPs done overhead, and there's some framed soffits that you can kind of see deep in there. This is down the academic wing, so you can see lots of tile and paint being done, and as well as some of the grid ceilings in. In fact, since there's a lot of grid ceilings in throughout the building, which means we're dropping lights, we're putting in all sorts of mechanical equipment. So moving along very, very well. Any questions?
You still on budget?
This is great. I mean, I think I really want to just thank Gloria and her team and Doug with O'Connell Robertson and Court. Like you guys have, when I look at this, I'm just so excited for our students. I'm so excited for our staff. Having been in some of these schools, these older schools, I mean, it was very apparent. I think at our beam signing, we could see kind of this new building, and literally, since the old building is right there, you could see the old building with the kind of stairs, and literally tile is falling off the wall already, and it was just such a stark contrast. And so I just thank you guys for all of your work. This is even just looking at the plant and what it takes to run this facility, this is no small undertaking. So I'm just so thankful we're on budget, on time. That usually cannot be said for projects at this scale. So thank you guys so much. Really.
One last question. Demolition, how long will it take again for the old building?
The demolition and
how many weeks
is about a 3-month process. So we'll start from abatement to demo. We'll start on certain sections and then we'll be kind of moving into those different areas. So that's where we're doing that initial demo to get that bus lane put in.
Bus lane.
And then we'll be working our way back.
So for 3 months, roughly.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to item number 9, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding Brazos High School closure and program redesign. Mr. Hamilton.
I always have to move the microphone down. That's fair. Of course, the academic PSAT piece, I got to step in a box, so that was really nice.
Oh, that's special.
Right. Good evening, Board President Korteweg, trustees, and Superintendent Kincannon. I'm bringing forth a request for the board to consider authorizing the superintendent to notify the Texas Education Agency of the closure of Brazos High School at the end of the 23-24 school year. In October of this past year, Waco ISD formed a committee consisting of stakeholders, including all high schools, to begin discussion of restructuring Brazos High School to return to home campuses. The presentation tonight is a culmination of that work. The timeline presented represents what point we are in the process. At this time, we are in the first phase of our work, which is approval of the closure. A little background, Brazos High School has acted as a dropout recovery program since 2012, taking over for the STARS program. The staffing budget for Brazos High School for the 23-24 school year is approximately $1.3 million. I would like to introduce Denise Bell, Director of Accountability and Data Systems, to explain Brazos accountability from a federal perspective and how it has influenced our decision.
So currently, Brazos High School does have a federal label this year, even though we are under a lawsuit with TEA. The judge did allow TEA to release the federal ratings because those came with funds for schools. We're currently still in litigation with them over the state ratings. I'll probably be a grandmother by the time that's all decided. But Brazos did receive a year 4 federal label, so of comprehensive identified. Comprehensive is the deepest level of school improvement from the federal rating system. And it is only 1/3 of the state system. So the current accountability system, one encompasses the other, but the federal system has its own set of requirements. To exit this label and become what is called comprehensive progress, a school would have to not meet the criteria which got them in there in the first place. So they stay for an extra year if they've been labeled comprehensive progress so that they still have the funding for one more year. But then in the next year after that, if they're comprehensive progress, they're completely out. For Brazos, they're year 4 comprehensive identified. So year 4 means that at best, if they had met the criteria this school year with the 2023 graduates, it would have been comprehensive progress, but it would have been year 6 of being comprehensive at all. Year 5, I'm sorry, comprehensive at all, which means at best they could exit at year 6. So it's a little bit year to year. Brazos qualified for the comprehensive label for one measure, and that is the federal graduation rate, which is required for any campus whatsoever to not be below 66.7. So for Brazos, they were comprehensive based on this rule and the minimum federal graduation rate requirements. To exit from this, they would have had to have met standard for the 2024 ratings, which would be the class of 2023, and the 25 ratings, which would be the class of 2024. And just those students, that 4-year rate, their students are a mix of many graduating classes, and some of them are older. So in the ESSA plan, so we're taking action because in the ESSA plan, which is our TEA's agreement with the federal government about how will you react when campuses are in years 4 and 5, and TEA in the ESSA plan put in that it will use the same rules that are in place for accountability. So in accountability stateside, the law says that the commissioner must do one of 2 things if a campus gets to year 5, and that is to close that campus or to replace the school board with a board of managers. Due to COVID, though, the federal consequences are kind of a little delayed, but it does not change the fact that we would be year 5 this year for the graduating class of 2023. And upon data analysis of those students, they would not meet that measure. They would not meet the 66.7% for students.
Thank you, Denise. So, given the options, Waco ISD is turning the situation into a way to expand services to the home campuses by taking what has made Brazos a special place and translating that into more opportunities for students across the district. Our goals were to ensure that we took input to build the best system for our students, replicate and expand what is best about Brazos, including the love and care that the staff has for the students, decrease the retention rate for students who have struggled in the current system. Based upon the input from the committee, we established a 3-level system to address the different needs of students that is a combination of what has been done on the home campuses and what has been done at Brazos. Level 1 students will be served through 1 period to cover their needs. Level 2 students will be served through 2 or more periods that include individualized intervention based upon their needs. And level 3 students are served entirely through the program with individualized intervention. In order to serve the programs at each campus effectively, we have proposed a restructure that would include a director to oversee the program, a counselor at each campus to guide our most in-need students, level 1 instructors based upon the needs of the campus, 4 content-specific teachers at each campus to address the needs of level 2 and level 3 students, a special education teacher that serves the needs of level 3 students at each campus, continued use of a bilingual ESL interventionist, the addition of a bilingual aide to each campus specifically for level 3 students, and expanded support pregnancy-related service social workers to the level 3 students in their entirety. We will also be able to offer the communities and schools to our students and meal service. It is always difficult to be forced into a situation where campus has to be closed. However, the silver lining is through the process, we've been able to build a structure that will serve underclassmen to help ensure they're able to get back on track quicker, increase counseling support to our students who most need it, and really excitingly, expand childcare and additional benefits through EOAC to all Waco ISD students and decrease transportation obstacles for our student parents.
Can I talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely.
So I want to, I saw Mrs. Latchinson come in. I want to say thank you to her for her leadership in helping us develop this plan, and for her grace and the way that she was able to lead her staff, because it was a hard thing, closing the school. And she's done an amazing job and has been at the table for all of the conversations. But not only that, she really took the lead with the EOAC. So if you'll go back to that slide that says other programs support. So basically, we're closing our own child care program at Brazos that only serves Brazos children, and we're opening, EOAC is opening through a new partnership, a program at Brazos that any high school student in Waco ISD can use. They'll have priority. There may be some other children from the community if space is available, but our students will have that priority. And it will serve children better than we were serving children, because they will have they have supplies, they have diapers and formula, and they get trained with federal funds from Head Start, and they have all of the supplies and materials and all of it, parent education. So I'm really excited about that new community partnership to make that happen, and just wanted to make sure that was clear to you all. Also, want to make sure that you're clear on the optional flexible school day program. That's something that we started last year.
We started 2 years ago.
2 years, excuse me, at Waco High.
Waco High, and then University came on board, and it has shown to be a great success at the home campuses. However, that was funded through ESSER funds at the home campuses. So by doing this, this allows us to continue the program at the home campuses while expanding it.
So we're shifting funds. The Brazos is primarily has been funded by state comp. We'll continue to fund all or most of it by state comp, but we won't have federal ESSER funds. But we will be able to continue the optional flexible school day program with this plan that we've come up with. And our students will have 3 opportunities during the day to come for a shortened compact day, and they'll be able to get meals while they're with us. So we're pretty pumped about that, and very excited to be able to just to offer more for the kids, and to be able to serve 9th and 10th graders. We haven't been able to serve them in our labs at the 2 high schools because we didn't have enough staff to do that, and now we'll be able to expand staffing at the main campuses and better serve all kids, so they don't get stacked up at 11th and 12th grade with stacked up and behind with credits.
I do want to make a note on that. Brazos is very successful at student completion of credits, so we look forward to that portion of what they do coming to the home campuses, so that our goal in the end is that we don't have so many students that are credit deficient at all.
I have a question, please.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Going back to your level 1, 2, and 3, please.
I'm getting there. There you go.
So the flexible schedule that Dr. Kincannon was alluding to,
Yep.
is that only for level 3?
Correct. That would be a level 3 student. We would also, a level 3 student could also be a student that is so deficient in credits that they may need to be there the entirety of the time, but would not be on optional flexible school day because they have so many credits that they're deficient.
So explain that a little bit further then.
Okay, optional flexible school day really, from the state, let me clarify, what are you asking?
Well, level 3 flexible days, is that only going for 11th and 12th grade? We were talking about 9 and 10.
So optional flexible school day, the state defines a student who is at risk. Basically, any of the indicators that are an at-risk indicator, a student may be placed in an optional flexible school day. Typically, we don't do any student that is at risk, but however, that is one of the criteria is they have to be at risk in some form or fashion, or a student that is in danger of losing credits due to absences or credit deficiencies. So that's the criteria to go into an optional flexible school day. Typically, we try not to put, obviously, students that are just coming into high school into a particular, that pattern. We would look at kids that are more credit deficient, severely credit deficient. Occasionally, we have had students that we would look at that program for that have a different issue that creates an at-risk issue, like students that may not be able to function at all in a larger environment, but that's a rare and very few and far between situation.
And a lot of our, we've had students who have gotten far behind because they're working, and then they get their, they just can't catch up. And so this gives them a schedule that they can manage to catch up.
Yes.
And this will be held at both campuses?
Correct. There will be a space at both campuses that this occurs with a morning, afternoon, and evening shift.
My last question, sir. For these level 3 students, will they be mixed in with other students at university or Waco High, or
No.
will they be in their own?
They'll be in their own space. Level 2 students would be the ones that would have a foot in both arenas, which may be a piece where they're pretty credit deficient, but they still could do classes like their CTE classes outside in the regular campus. But the level 3 students would be entirely housed amongst themselves.
President Cordaway.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
One, I would say thank you to Principal Atchison and your team for the great work y'all did. It's really incredible to see what y'all have been able to do at Brazos. I'm very happy to hear about these programs continuing. I guess my question is, I know that Brazos and night school have been used as an option to separate students. And I think we know to separate certain groups of students. So how will that work? And have we talked to the staff at Waco High University as well as Brazos to discuss the reason that some of these kids were placed in night school or at Brazos? And kind of have we made a plan to make sure those students continue to be separated?
So students that are currently in night school are prioritized to continue in the program. So we will continue to do that. One of the things that's going to happen is Brazos staff will go and talk with the students at the night school programs before the end of the year to ascertain whether or not they want to continue in night school or if they would be better served during a different shift during the day. Because currently, obviously, the only option we have at the home campus is night school if they want to go to optional flexible school day. However, it may be better for a student to be served in a morning or afternoon shift. So that will be talked to the students about before the end of the year. So they will have priority on maintaining the level 3 going forward, yes.
Mr. Hamilton, I lied. I do have one more question.
I will note that for the record.
Please. And forgive my lack of education about Brazos to the extent of my question. To my understanding, we have what I would consider overage students there. And when we move them to University and Waco High, I want to make sure that I understood you correctly, that they will be in their cohort. They won't be mixing with younger students, looking at considerably older students being on campus.
Yes, yes. And then B, another point to consider that is along that road is that Brazos, under the accountability system for the state, gained credit, if you will, for recovering students that were beyond cohort, like could be even beyond cohort, way beyond cohort. That would not be a practice moving forward because the home campuses would not get credit for recapturing students who have been out of school for several years. The most that we would ever have of students maintaining on the campus would be 2 years after their cohort. So we're looking at the oldest students being maybe 19 or 20. Would that be about correct? Denise, do you want to speak to that?
So currently, the data doesn't show that we have students that are far above cohort. I think 2022, there's one student who is to graduate in 2022, and she'll be able to finish with Brazos's. She understands, but she is about 20 years old. That's the oldest. A couple of students are 2023s, and they're finishing up because they like to finish there. So the bulk of Brazos really is 2023s, 24s, 25s. So the ages are not 18, 19-year-olds over at Brazos. They're students we've been moving over there to intervene sooner. And so that's why we have that level 2, because we felt like if some of these kids were on the campus and got done, they could go half day to Guama, half day to that program. But there's not the considerable amount of overage students that you're concerned about. And board policy has that we cannot enroll a student past the age of 20 anyway, unless they have special education needs. So we have to kind of watch that boundary as well. But slowly over time, Ms. Latchison and her staff have been able to work with the older students and move them forward even before we began talking about closing the campus. They were working on kind of closing that gap for students.
Thank you. That's fantastic to know.
And just to clarify, students who will be affected by this change, they will graduate before Brazos is closed.
Not all students that are, basically we will have some students that will return to home campus because they will just, it would not be possible for them to complete all their credits.
I think I'm asking more about the students who would age out.
Correct.
Those students.
That is correct,
will,
yes.
Okay.
I mean, it is looking like that is the case. There's always the circumstance that a kid may just stop doing things.
Mr. Ochoa?
Yeah, what is the current enrollment at Brazos?
She has that.
Okay.
Currently in Brazos, there are 64 students on the roll. 52 of them are still pursuing credits, and 12 of them are students who only need their tests. So they're doing graduation projects and things like that. So 64 in total, but 52 students still working on classes.
One more question.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr.
Oh.
You guys mentioned communities and schools. I know they had a specific CIS person at Brazos. Will they have a CIS person just for credit recovery at both high schools, or will it just be the home campus communities and schools?
So the vision was it would be the home campus communities and schools. We can talk to CIS and see if they have availability to shift to be more responsive to the evening classes.
No, our plan is to have the main campus
Yes.
communities and schools serve them because we have a budget deficit.
Yep.
But there is a grant that Dr. Warren has been working with CIS on. If we had available funds, we could expand that at Waco High School, but we haven't made that decision yet. Yeah.
This is in the weeds question maybe. You know, generally school ends at 4 or 5 or whenever it's going to end. And there's extracurricular, but now with night classes, is the principal of the night school now working until the end of those kids go home? And how does that affect administration's leadership of that campus, expanding in hours, expanding in scope, and all of those kinds of things? Because that.
So we're moving Daphne into a director position to oversee both campuses. We will have a counselor on each campus as well that is dedicated specifically to the program. So between all the actors, they will be able to assist with monitoring of the program. The principal will still be the supervisor of the staff. However, Daphne will have input and evaluation and oversight of the program.
Okay. Good.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa?
Just to clarify, so you said 64 students, so it's 1.3 million that we're spending for personnel. How is moving this to each campus going to compare to that?
So I'll start with what we're looking at capacity-wise. We're looking to serve 150 students per campus in the level 3, additional students in level 2, which we can't necessarily ascertain at this time. And then obviously we will have additional duties that assist with level 1 students. So there'll be a large expansion in regards to what will be served in regards to students. I will let Dr. Kincannon speak to the budgetary piece.
Okay, I wrote in the memo, if you'll go back to the memo, we are currently spending the 1.3 at Brazos and about $500,000 at each of the comprehensive high schools. And Waco High is actually slightly higher, but we have teachers teaching one period in the online learning lab, and so it's not exact on that, but about $500,000, so $2.3 million overall. Between everything that we're currently doing, we expect to save about $325,000 overall by combining.
You said you're adding 150 at each campus, level 3?
And what we will do is we are serving 150. That will include students that are returning from Brazos, including the night school students that are already on the home campus. Remember, we were also spending 6 figures in regards to ESSER monies over the last couple of years in funding night school.
Does night school cost more?
Night school doesn't cost more. It just was paying EDRs for teachers to stay after school to cover the credit recovery.
Can you tell us what EDR means?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sort of nomenclature. Extra duty request.
Paid them by the hour.
Yep.
It wasn't. It was an
clarifying.
additional expense that we budgeted with our ESSER funds to help our students recover credits. And I'm going to say there was close to $500,000 in that budget, but I'd have to go look it up to remind myself.
It was quite a bit. I mean, we had
Still a lot of
originally
money on it.
budgeted about $70-something thousand per campus per year for the night school program.
Yes, Mr. Ochoa.
Thanks, Dave. Sorry.
You're okay.
So just to clarify, we're going to be able to serve more students, better serve those students, and still save $325,000 a year.
I know, it sounds like a government plan, doesn't it? That's right.
That's why we're excited about it. We're going to be and take care of 9th and 10th graders too, and hopefully don't have to take care of as many juniors and seniors. I do want to thank again. I thanked Ms. Latchison, but it was really hard on her staff. And remember the first meetings we had with them, it's gut wrenching because they bought into the culture of their school and they've worked really hard to graduate kids, and they've done a really good job of what they had to do. It's just the accountability system is not suited for small schools that serve kids who are at risk, and so it was really a challenge for them to meet it. But I want to acknowledge that no one thinks that they did a poor job over there. We all think that they did a really nice job of taking care of students, but we just have to do this at this time.
Yes, Mr. Guillory.
And on that note, because they did an amazing job over there, and the staff with the food pantries and all the services that they provided for the students over there. Have we found placement for all of the staff over there? I haven't heard about that, if we did or not.
So we're working through staffing and budgets now, and we don't have everyone placed, but we will. And what I told the staff is we'll have places for them. Some haven't been figured out. Most of them we're just going to divide between the two high schools. There are a couple of people there who are not certified teachers or who are in unique positions that we're working out, but we're taking care of them. And I believe our child care staff are going to either go to EOAC or into a paraprofessional position within the district. Are you turning me off back down there? My light keeps going off up here. It's like something's happening with my technology. But we're taking care of them.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Pat.
That's, I think, 3 over when you said you were.
Yeah.
Again, I'm making note for the record.
I'm making up for being quiet earlier. Are these services for our level 3, do they continue through the summer?
So we can serve them in the summer through summer school. So that's not an issue because we have summer school every year. So we would continue to do that and fund it through what we normally would fund through summer school. So we can do that, yes.
Does that normally happen at Brazos?
So Brazos during the summer, and that kind of goes to the timeline piece, is we will continue summer school at Brazos like we've done in the past for this summer, though they will take their EOCs, their end of course exams at the home campuses, because if they were coded to Brazos, that would restart accountability at the building. No problem. And so just to finalize, we have much still to do. There's lots of details to work out. But one of the first things is this request for closure so we can make sure that we can move forward. I too want to thank the committee for the work they've put in, the teachers and staff of Brazos for the grace they have shown, because they have shown grace. And finally, Daphne Latchison for the leadership she has exhibited throughout. She is an advocate for the district, her staff, and most importantly, for all the students of Waco ISD. And I was going to ask for questions, but I think you jumped the gun on me. Is there any other thing before I leave the podium?
Yes, Mr.
I just want to say thank you guys for working together to make sure that we keep the quality of service that I felt like was being provided at Brazos. That was a big concern of mine, so I'm happy to see that it will continue. And again, thank you, Principal Latchison, for all your hard work.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we allow the superintendent to notify TEA regarding the closure of Brazos High School.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ooh, who's it? We'll give it to Guillory. Guillory gets a second. Mr. Grant, is there any discussion?
No.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Vidania?
No.
Mr. Guillory?
No.
Mr. Ochoa? No. Mr. Patton?
No.
Okay. I will, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I really do want to take this time to thank you and your staff for making hard choices on behalf of our kids. And I think from what I've heard from your staff, they really loved the kiddos. And they did everything for the kiddos. And I think that's a reflection of your leadership. And so I'm very happy to hear that you are going to still oversee it, that you still have your fingerprints on it, and you're taking care of our kids, because it means so much to me personally, knowing that you are at the helm, keeping an eye on our kids and helping make them successful. So really just thank you. And I do want to thank the administration too for working in conjunction and really taking time to listen. This is not a process that has been done quickly. This has taken months and months and months of discussions and planning and hashing things out. And so I really want to commend the administration for really sitting down and listening, holding space for people to air their opinions and their thoughts and their ideas, and that to me is so valuable, because that collaboration doesn't come easy in this world. And so thank you for being a model of that for not only our staff, but for our students. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like we need to give you a round of applause. Okay, moving on to item number 10. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding contract with Transformation Waco for wraparound services. Dr. McDermott, there you are.
I'll start. We did ask Dr. McDermott to come in case you had any questions that I couldn't answer. But this evening I want to bring you a one-year contract for wraparound services with Transformation Waco, as we've been discussing. And this contract basically uses reserve funds from the money that was allocated to Transformation Waco to provide and to keep in place the existing services at the 4 campuses that we have: Alta Vista, Brook, J.H. Hines, and G.W. Carver. So there are 11 positions in the contract, and those are 9 professional positions and 2 paraprofessional positions. And that provides for the, sorry, I don't have that in front of me, the support specialists for the community school specialists, the licensed clinical social worker. It maintains the vision center. It may, and they'll be administering the after-school program. Those are the big pieces in terms of the funding of the staff. And then on our behalf, they'll be doing some other things, taking the lead with Inspiración, administering the community schools grant that they received, the federal grant, overseeing that vision center, continuing the telehealth program that they began. And so we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Dr. McDermott, I was looking through here, and of course I can't find it right now. School Readiness Initiative at Estella Maxey. I was wondering what that was. I wasn't as familiar with that one.
Certainly. We have a partnership with the Housing Authority. They've given us a 3-bedroom apartment, and we're using it to use many of the practices that we've seen to be successful at Inspiración and putting it in an East Waco. We've always hoped to have a school readiness initiative in East Waco. Very grateful for the partnership. We're using our full-service community school grant to help fund that. And in addition to having a site-based place for parents and students to come and learn about school, have health screenings, and prepare them to be advocates for their children, we also will be having at that site a family resource center. Our community support specialist today went through training for the SNAP navigators, and they also have been working to learn how to help families re-sign up for Medicaid and other services that have just been difficult to navigate, and often our families give up.
So is it currently running right now?
We have hired the staff member who will be operating it. We had our first 4 families sign up last week, and they'll start this summer.
And how many families are you expecting to possibly serve through this program?
Initially, we hope to start with 12. That's what Inspiración started with. And you start with a small group. You let them help guide the process. In fact, we haven't named it because we want the participants to name it. We want them to own it. And then we hope to grow, as Inspiración has, up to 200 participants.
Great.
Number 16. Administer a program offering free legal services to parents through partnership with Greater Waco Legal Services. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, we've been doing that at each of the zone campuses. They'll come once a month, and we advertise to our families, and it's pretty successful. They normally have a full slate, and our families are able to come and get free legal service. A lot of our families have come for advice about custody of students. There's usually a housing issue or two, but it's just an opportunity to get them in front of a legal clinic and help them move along.
Is that the? Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm saying thank you. That's a great program. Thank you.
Is that with McKeever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that his Kent McKeever, his nonprofit that he has?
Yes.
That was. Yes, Mr. Ochoa.
Dr. McDermott, I'm sorry, I just don't know this. Can you explain what a community school specialist, sort of what their job description is, and then also what an after-school specialist, what their role is.
Yes. So our community school specialist, they were created as part of the zone to be the liaison with parents to help connect. They run our coordination of care process. And what happens within that process is that teachers, parents, students can self-nominate for help. And we go through a case management program where we look at, you know, some challenges are quick and easy one-offs, like going to the vision center. But sometimes a teacher may be seeing changes in behavior or academic decline. And so our family support specialist or community support specialist, they coordinate all of the wraparound services. They manage the case, each student case by case, and they look to see, is what we're doing working? And if not, what needs to happen? And if it is the level of services we're provided needed? And so they are our front line with family members and staff and coordinate the services. They're a key role in the zone's wraparound services.
And they've been there since the beginning of the zone?
Mm-hmm.
And do you guys track data on how many families you've served? Or
We do. 65% of the zone's students have gone through some type of wraparound services during the 22-23 school year. Among the students who've worked directly with a family support specialist or community support specialist, 71% of those students met their academic MAP growth target. And so we know that that this is shown to us to be a very effective way of removing academic barriers to success.
Dr. McDermott, can you explain the difference to me between a community school specialist and a licensed social worker? Because
yes,
it sounds very similar
yes.
gigs.
Yes, so our licensed clinical social workers, we would consider them a Tier 3 intervention, and this is a social worker who has gone through 3,000 hours of clinical supervision, and they're qualified to assess and treat severe mental challenges. And so our licensed clinical social workers are the ones that are providing the highest level of support to our most needed children. Tier 3 intervention. Our other, the family support specialists, many of them are licensed social workers that are in our pipeline, and we're providing supervision for them right now to become LCSWs.
So are they intern, basically?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, but we hired them as to do that position. We're just moving them along so that they can. Yes.
So you have a social worker 0.33 FTE at Alta Vista, Brook, and Hines. Is that correct? So is that one social worker for those three schools?
One LCSW for yes. One LCSW for the 3 elementary schools and one dedicated solely to the middle school. And it is our hope, that we have 2 community support specialists right now that are in their clinical supervision, and it is our hope that 2 years from now we're able to have 1 at each campus. But that's dependent on our sustainable funding model using Medicaid billing.
Going back to the after-school specialist.
Yes, sorry. Our after-school specialists are degreed professionals that they bring in our volunteers, they train our volunteers, they are responsible for the programming, they are responsible for all aspects of our after-school programming.
Good gosh almighty, sorry.
President Cordova.
Yes, Mr. David, Mr. Cho, were you finished?
Hey, my bad. Am I interrupting you? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, some of these, you have, I'm sorry, where is it? After-school specialists receiving the same salary as LCSWs?
They work a different number of days.
Yeah, they work
Okay.
longer year, 226 days. And
Okay, and the after-school special, that's just, that's not a year-round?
no, it is.
It is a year-round?
It is year
Okay.
round, yeah.
What are the hours do they work? I mean, is it 8 hours a day?
Well, it depends. You know, we try to have them working 8 hours a day, but it's not unusual because they work until 7 o'clock. You know, it's not unusual for them to come in at 8 and be finished at 7 o'clock. But we encourage them to manage their time in a way that they're coming in later in the mornings so that they are not working much beyond an 8-hour day.
Mr. Davis, yes, sorry.
I appreciate you coming. The program that I wasn't familiar with is the new one at Estella Maxey, but I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys for keeping these services. I got to see a lot of these services, boots on the ground, and I know the impact that they have on our students. So I'm excited to see that they'll continue.
Thank you.
Mr.
Sorry,
Cho? No, you're great.
I just don't know about this, so I'm sorry, I have so many questions. So you said 65% of the students use the services of family support specialists?
Yes.
And that 71% of those students have met their academic goals?
In math or reading with NWEA MAP growth. You know, with the state's testing being so inconsistent, we've looked to NWEA MAP for the full 6 years that we've been in existence, and we find it's a nationally normed assessment. Over 6,000 students take it, and we can count on it to be consistent every year. Each year at the beginning of the year, the students have taken an assessment that will set their growth trajectory for a year, and then at the end of the year, they take a EOY, and that's when it's determined if they've met their growth target or not.
So you could see a direct correlation between their academic goals being met and these services?
We can, and I think that it's important to note that the highest growth comes with our after-school program. So in general, we're looking at 71 to 73% of the students meeting their growth targets for services other than the high-impact tutoring in after-school, but our after-school students, 81% met their NWEA MAP growth target.
Is the NWEA MAP test, is that on grade level testing?
So it is, but it takes you, it provides what grade level the student is testing on, but the goal is to continue to grow and get from BOY to EOY with a year's growth.
So 9 months growth or
yes.
a year's growth.
And I would happily get the statistics for you because it's not unusual for our students to be hitting that goal at the middle of the year. And then some of them have as much as a year and a half's growth. But we really are just significantly looking at yes, no, did they meet their annual growth target?
And would you say that is primarily from within the school regular day classroom, or are you also saying that it's the after school?
Yes. So
I'm getting stumped on the after school part.
So across the board, 70% of the zone students met one or more of their academic goals across the board. After school, 81%. And then our other wraparound services, slightly higher than the average.
On that NWEA?
Yes.
And is that because of like the tutoring and the targeted interventions that are happening in the after-school program?
It
That you
is.
guys are seeing that 10% growth?
It is. During the high-impact tutoring, the students that are enrolled in tutoring have 30 minutes a day, 3 hours a week in tutoring, and they are required to complete 20 hours a semester, and we've found that to be very successful.
Probably a Dr. Kincannon question. Does Waco ISD offer similar after-school programs?
We don't.
TW does?
We don't. We don't. That was one of the things that I think they had a 21st Century Learning Community Centers grant previous to my time in the district that was carried forward. And I think it was only at the zone schools, maybe not even all of the zone schools.
It was only at Carver.
Only at Carver.
We paid for our other after-school programming with initially zone implementation grant and then ESSER funds. And yeah, so our way of sustaining the after-school programming after this year using the reserve funds is we have recently received our licensing, childcare licensing for each of our sites, and we will become a child care services provider in which we will be able to get reimbursement for the services that we're providing, and it will just be a smooth transition for our families so that they don't lose services. We're one of the very few providers in the community that it's absolutely free for our families after school.
They're just.
Tell me, Robin, I'm Dr. McDurham, sorry. Tell me what the after-school program looks like.
You bet. Okay, so a typical day in after school, students have dinner at every campus. They have 30 minutes of tutoring 3 times a week, and then they sign up for different enrichment classes. Some of my favorite enrichment classes are coding. We have, right now at the middle school, we have a whole cohort of children that are doing sewing. We also have swimming. We have partnerships with Baylor's engineers. We have partnerships with the Girl Scouts. One of the favorite clubs of the students is anime. They also enjoy cooking. And so we give them a list of, at the beginning of the year, we give them a list of potential activities, and the students choose which enrichment activities they want to participate in, and we just roll with it. And we change those throughout the year 2 or 3 times. And also, it's not unusual for a student to just get involved in something and realize it's not for them, and we let them move to another program.
Does the after-school coordinator, the after-school specialist, do they also do parenting?
They do.
Training or sessions?
What we have, no, we don't have parenting sessions for them, but what we do have is ongoing parenting meetings in which we share what we're doing with the parents and let them see and participate in activities. But we have not added parent education to after school. We do use it with Inspiración and the East Waco initiative.
And that's the GED kind of with Inspiración?
Yes.
So y'all haven't done that with the other schools?
Now, outside of the after-school program, we have started our parent academies. And those, we polled all of our parents and asked, what would you like to learn if we were able to provide support services? We started with a financial literacy class, which was pretty well attended over at Alta Vista. We also have provided classes on the STAR and how to prepare their kids for it. We specifically asked about GED classes and ESL classes, and we're surprised that they weren't at the top of the list, but we're prepared to provide it if we see that there's a need.
Ms. Cordwood?
Yes, Mr. Grant.
I got a question about next phases and the intent. The after-school wraparound services and seem to be a great gift for the students and their families. Part of my hope would be to see an integration of all the services we provide on the campuses that are not yet receiving those. I know that there are students at Mountain View and Crestview and Parkdale and Tennyson that have the same need. Do we have a plan to expand, to ramp up this, or are we gonna, is the intent just to continue on the campuses that we are now and let students opt into those at other campuses if they choose or need? Or I'm just curious about what next. Are we just going to keep doing it the same way we've done it on the same campuses we've done it, or is there a plan, a dream, a vision to grow that?
We don't have the funding to grow it at this point.
No, I mean, if you're a provider and we're
if it can be funded, if there's a grant or if there's a way to receive, I forgot what you called it, child care funding through the Workforce Commission, certainly we would love to. I mean, we would love to have it.
That's what I'm saying. Is the plan to grow it in such a way that you can ramp up or scale up, I guess is the word, to provide this much needed benefit to more children than what we're currently doing?
I think it's fair to say that the plan for this year is to get our feet and then see what is reasonable for us to be able to move to other campuses. But we definitely would like to do that. It's simply a matter of how are we able to fund it.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa. Sorry. No, you're fine.
So my concern is, you know, for such a long time, we've operated out of two different budgets. And going forward, perception is going to be everything with every single dollar we spend.
It is.
How did these salaries compare to, say, a median salary of a school that's not in transformation zone or maybe outside of a school district?
So these salaries, first, are part of the Waco ISD salary schedule, and so they wouldn't be different if we were able to provide them at other campuses. In terms of the overall budget, we're asking you to carry over between $600,000 and $700,000 of the reserve funds that Transformation Waco has had in our reserves. I do think it's fair to say that while these campuses will have more available to them this year, it's good as they transition back to the district not to interrupt the services that are being provided to them. And hopefully, we will be able to increase our services to more campuses.
I want to take a stab at that too. So one of the things we're doing through the budgeting process is looking at our staffing guidelines. And aside from these wraparound services, we're bringing all of TW employees back in line with Waco ISD systems. So there were some positions that were being paid additional stipends that will no longer exist. Now, I did not go and check these salaries for these 11 positions to see if they align to our pay systems, and we can do that. We can verify that. And if they're higher than anything that we have currently, we can adjust those to fall in line. We don't have after-school specialists at any campus, so we'll just have to look at the pay grades and see if the positions fit where they are. But from what I understand from Dr. McDurham, that's the way those have been for some time now.
I actually have a question. Dr. McDermott, how does the the community school specialist, how does that differ from what CIS provides?
We work very closely with CIS and are careful not to trample on their services. We use their services as one of the tier interventions that we may be providing on as part of the coordination of care process. But we created the coordination of care process so that we weren't duplicating effort. And here's the way that we describe it is that CIS provides a tier 1 intervention, and they have a large caseload, and their services may be as simple as providing someone with rent assistance or arranging for someone to be picked up from school. And then the Transformation Waco services kick in at more of a tier 2 and tier 3 intervention. And so we work well together, but we are not doing the same thing.
And how do the after-school specialists kind of differ from the after-school kind of component of CIS? I mean, I know that the CIS does some after-school care. They might not get the volunteers, but is that money kind of allocated for the after-school specialists? Is that allocated also for like stipends for these volunteers who come in and do it? Or what is that? How does that budget break down?
Well, now, specifically with CIS, they have a grant that is 76707 grant, Department of Justice grant, that we have maximized with our federal full service community school grant to pay for their staff and their programming with some of our after school programming. In particular, they have a service learning component with CIS. We use other grant funds with the full service community school grant to offset programming needs with after school. Now the after school specialist salary is their salary and benefits.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr.
Into it, if it's all right.
Sure.
Looking at your data, Dr. McDermott, do you have an after-school specialist at Brook Avenue and J.H. Hines?
We do. Now, the after-school specialist at J.H. Hines is right now a part-time employee, and we help that team a lot. The other specialists help that team a lot, but that was not intended. We started full-time. We went to half-time because of circumstances on the campus that they needed a full-time sub for a teaching position, and so we let that person go into being a full-time sub, and then we cut their after-school programming. It was a unique situation.
So you do have after-school specialists at every campus, right?
We do. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
So the $600,000+, that is money that was in Transformation Waco's reserve, so it wouldn't be funds that were in Waco ISD's budget to begin with. So this is basically us giving that money back to the zone to run these wraparound services. Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Right. And our contract states that we are supposed to spend all of our reserve funds during the year. We've typically done that by pulling from the reserves to fund programming. We did not do that this year. We left that money alone all year long with the hopes that we would be able to. So in essence, we're asking you to approve an extension of our funds.
Okay. Madam President, I move that we accept the administrative recommendation to approve the one-year contract with Transformation Waco for wraparound services.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there, I always get tripped up on these. Is there any question, Mr. Grant? No. Any questions, Mr. Davis? No. Any questions, Mr. Vidal?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Guillory?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Ochoa?
Just one more, sorry.
Yep.
I know districts are weird and there's different buckets. Is this money specifically have to be spent for these positions? Or can it be spent other places in Transformation Week?
Oh, we've agreed that they'll be spent for these that are designated in the contract. Yeah, we're not.
That was the intent of the contract. But I think your question is for Ms. Davis.
Yeah, I just didn't know
About
if there was
what's
other-
allowable and what's not allowable. Would you answer?
No, that's what.
That's what
you guys-
we've been talking about, right? Is that these continuing the wraparound services with the reserve funds.
Perfect. That's all I got.
That's all you
Thank
need.
you for being
Okay.
here.
I do have, I have something I need to be made clear by Dr. Kincannon or Cheryl. So looking at these salaries that we're looking at, we don't know that they match our.
I believe they do, but I didn't verify them, is what I said to you. So we don't have all, my mic is doing it again. We don't have all of these positions in Waco ISD. So they were new positions that came along, I believe, with the zone, other than the social worker.
So is that something?
Social workers, and we can compare, but we could look at pay grades to see
Is
if
that something HR?
we can verify those, yes.
So before I give my vote, I want to make sure that we're not necessarily voting that salary unless it is appropriate.
Correct, you are
for our
not.
district.
Correct.
I have a question. You said earlier that you guys were following the Waco ISD pay scale. Can you explain that? Because now if either we're following the pay scale or we're not. So I was just wondering what the confusion is there.
Yes, so each pay grade, each position comes with a specific pay grade. And when we set the pay grade for the after-school specialist, we used a social work. There are several different positions within that pay grade that we look to compare responsibilities, and that's how we set it. It's at the top of the pay grade because they work 226 days, and most of the folks in that pay grade, or a large number, work 207 days.
And so those extra days, they have kids during the summer.
They do. They run some summer programming through the month of June, and also more specialized through July.
Is that tied into summer school?
It is after summer school, but we also have some students that don't go to summer school and are able to access our full day, basically, childcare during the day. And so, yes, and then the end of the summer, while they're not with students, they're putting their programming together, doing recruitment, reaching out to families, and just preparing for the next school year.
Okay.
Last thing I'll say is I just appreciate the safe spaces that are being created for our students. I think idle time in these specific neighborhoods have not rendered good things for our youth. So I appreciate them having a safe space to have constructive pouring into their lives, whether it's academic help or kind of these specialized programs that happen after school as well as through the summer. And I know personally that those meals that they receive are very crucial to our students. So I just want to say I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I first of all, I would like to say thank you, because I think I'm the only person here on this board when the zone was created. And there was a very dire need to save our schools. And so I just want to personally say thank you, because I know that you, having been on staff at Waco ISD, went over into this position, kind of leading the helm in that. So I want to say thank you for all the hard work and for saving our schools in this community. That is not lost on me. And I am deeply indebted and grateful for what you stepped up to do, which is no small task. I think, kind of looking through some of this, I also am hesitant because, kind of as Mr. Ochoa had stated, we have a budget deficit. We are looking at doing with a fine-tooth comb all of the areas within Waco ISD. And it is, while these services, I do believe we need to keep after school, we need to keep our licensed clinical social workers and these people on campuses. And I do agree that transition is hard for campuses. I'm a little hesitant that we've done our due diligence in making sure kind of all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, because we have some hard times kind of coming up in this in the district as a whole. And could that money, some of that money, be utilized as an interventionist as well? You know, so what is the highest need of that campus? What are their own felt needs, and how do we allocate the budget, a very tight budget, accordingly? So I think it's hard for me to kind of say, okay, you know, yes, when I'm like, what are the needs of that campus? Where is the felt need of the teachers? And while I do absolutely 100% see the need of licensed clinical social workers, I've seen the after-school programs in action, and they're great, and they're so encouraging and such a safe, warm, loving environment for kids because they're smaller grouped. And I think there's a place also where, as a board, we're about to make some tough decisions for our entire district. And I think with that, but with lots of due diligence and lots of going back and looking and kind of doing a fine-tooth comb. And so I think in this regard, I know you're saying, okay, yes, there's the salary, you know, say the salary scale is the same, which I'm thankful for. But I think looking at kind of the comparability, looking at kind of the felt needs of those campuses specifically, yeah, it kind of gives me a little bit of pause of, hey, have we really kind of gone through this with a fine-tooth comb and kind of worked together collaboratively to try to look through this?
I've got a point of order question.
Huh?
Mr. Peter, we've made the nomination.
We're about to take a vote.
Okay.
We're about to take a vote. Okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. So it passes with, what is that? 6-1, with me opposing.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 11. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the extension of the superintendent's contract and the 2024 performance goals. You guys have the performance goals there in front of you on page 175. And I will entertain a motion.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Is there any discussion, Mr. Grant?
No.
Any discussion, Mr. Davis? No. Any discussion, Mr. Vidania?
No.
Any discussion, Mr. Guillory?
No.
Any discussion, Mr. Ochoa?
None.
Any discussion, Mr. Patton?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. I will say all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. So thankful for you, Dr. Kincannon, and all the hard work that you have done in this district. We are getting better every day, and it is showing in our academic performance. It's showing in our fine arts, in our athletics, and I'm just so thankful for your leadership. Moving on to number 12, announcements.
Good evening, President Korteweg, trustees, Dr. Kincannon. It was a pleasure today to have our midday gathering at the Kendrick groundbreaking. We got true Chamber of Commerce weather for the conclusion of breaking ground or celebrating kickoff for our 2021 Bond program. Thank you so much for being there with us. Tomorrow is the district is closed for a staff and student holiday. Wish you all a blessed holiday weekend. But our by-district champion UHS boys soccer continue their playoff run with a home field match, so home field advantage tomorrow night. Please make it so, right, Coach Love? At Waco ISD Stadium at 6 p.m. So get your purple on and go out and watch some really great soccer. April 4th is the last day to register to vote or change your address for it to be effective for the May 4th, 2024 election. That same evening, the board will regroup here for a workshop. As you all discussed tonight, we have a lot of things to work through. So look forward to seeing you all at 6 p.m. next Thursday. Saturday, April 6th is the Waco ISD Job Fair. Come out, our HR team's working hard, and our campuses, I know, will be ready to do their best sales job and recruit some new great staff members to come along. That's April 6th. At University High School from 9 to 11 a.m. Reminder, Monday, April 8th, the district is closed for whatever is going to come with the eclipse. I'm sorry, Dr. Kincannon. It will be a learning experience. We're going to make sure of that.
I wanted to have school on April the 8th.
We're still finding ways. And
I was the holdout, but we got it done.
We look forward to finding ways to celebrate and teach our students ahead of Monday, April 8th. Please wear your glasses if you go watch. And the following Monday, April 15th, will now be a school day. Please help us get that word out as well. So we will have school April 15th.
I have a question on the eclipse. Are we providing glasses for our students?
Dr. Kornblum. She's in charge of glasses.
Yes. I do know also next week we have a NASA speaker coming to speak to Waco High students. So there's you'll have lots of different learning opportunities really cool. In addition to the necessary supplies.
Yes, so at the principal meeting, we just asked each campus how many more they needed, and so we just placed an order on Tuesday for any additional, so they'll be getting those before we head out. Monday? Was it Monday?
We had originally had them for certain grade levels for a program at Baylor. Had the students been here, and so we're just adding to make sure everyone gets them.
Well, and some principals had already they wanted to do certain things on campus, so they had purchased some, and so we just kind of surveyed to see where everyone was, and then filled the holes.
I think the current projection is cloudy and rainy.
Yes.
Oh, no.
It is.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to Waco.
He's upset over here.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so get your eclipse glasses. Get ready for April 8th. Hopefully it is not cloudy and rainy. And your raincoat, according to Jonathan. And we're done at 7:57.